Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the ZBrush live stream. We are going to continue with our astronaut that we were working on previously. And just to get a couple of things out of the way first, let's make sure everybody can see and hear me okay. So if everybody can see my screen and you can hear my voice, excuse me. Please let us know on all three of the services, so on Twitch, on YouTube, and also on Facebook. Okay, so looks like YouTube is yes. Awesome. Thank you, person whose name is in Russian and I can't pronounce it. But thank you very much for confirming. And if we can just get all right, so good. That's a second confirm on YouTube from the Strawberry King. And let's see if we can get a couple of other ones. Anybody on Twitch? I think Lord Papooch. That's a great name. If you are hearing me okay on Twitch, let us know. And Facebook has a little bit of a delay, I think. I'm not sure, but usually they're the last ones to respond. So as soon as we can get that going, we can get started. In the meantime, for all those of you that can hear me, if you like this video, let us know. Subscribe to the ZBrush Live channel. There's a lot of streamers, a lot of great stuff happening on ZBrush Live, so do that. Leave a comment if you have one. We always appreciate the comments. Hopefully they are good comments. And let's see, if you have questions you can ask while I'm working away, and if you have a question after the fact, because these videos are available after the fact and you can watch them after, if you do have a question after that, leave them in the comments, and hopefully somebody from Pixologic or me, if I'm looking at the channels, will go ahead and answer them for you. Of course, it's always good to get your questions answered live because we can go back and forth and clarify things. Okay, so I'm still waiting for somebody from Twitch to chime in and let me know that you're hearing things well. Let's see here. We got 3 folks from YouTube. Thank you all 3 for confirming. And let me go ahead and get rid of this. And I guess I'll wait a few more seconds here, or maybe let's wait another couple of minutes. And as soon as we get confirmation, we can go ahead and continue. So one of the things was that you guys asked me not to continue to work on this, which I didn't. I basically just froze it. But I did have some free time, so I made a whole new other character. So I just made this whole other character between the last stream and this one. And I'll be sharing some of the techniques that I did in here. And also we'll be continuing on this character right here. All right, so since I don't need this one anymore, I'm going to go ahead and delete it. If anybody has any questions on it, now is the time to ask. So same exact technique, same exact way of working, just a different kind of character. This is more like a cyberpunk type of biker lady that I'm working on here. And her eyes are not on. What the hell? They are. Okay, so that's what I'm working on this model. And then I'll be posting this up soon. All right, Twitch sounds good. We got Granola Rift chiming in, letting us know. Thank you, Granola. All right, so let's go ahead and delete this one, and we will have this one on. I'll have it in a composition, hopefully sometime within the next few weeks. So for now, let's just delete it and go back to our handy-dandy favorite astronaut model here. Okay, so it looks like Twitch is good, so I'm good to go. We'll go ahead and get started. So today I'm going to try and work on this helmet. So right now the helmet is just kind of a one-piece kind of model like this. Right, this is what it looks like. This is what the topology looks like. It has subdivision levels. I did peel off a visor here. And I can use this one, or I can peel off another one as well. So I think I will actually peel off another visor. I'm not going to use this one, so I'm just going to drag and drop it into, oops. I'm going to drag and drop it into my, I don't really need to see 10 of these. I'm going to bring it down to 8. And drag and drop this down into my builders folder, which basically is just a folder that I keep, or, oh, well, actually this is not a builders folder, it's a separated folder. And I'll talk about what this is in a little while, but I put all the stuff I don't have and I'm not using over here just because I want to keep this area to a minimum. So since last time we were together, something really amazing happened, and there is a new version of ZBrush. And I don't know if you guys can see. No, you can't. So let me just move this down and over. So we have ZBrush 2022 out. And by a miracle, they actually launched it, made it available the day that they talked about it, which was really, really cool. So if you guys have not upgraded, I don't know what you're waiting for. It is pretty amazing. There's some really cool stuff in here. And I'll be talking about some of them. The first one I want to talk about is right here, which is these kind of views. So here, what I want to do is I want to hide everything else and set a view for just the helmet. So now I've got just a view for just the helmet right here. Okay, and then if I go to view 1, in view 1 I can show everything. So now I can just jump from the helmet to just the object that I'm working on, and this kind of makes life a lot nicer. I can have up to 8 different view sets, and it's kind of a really nice way to work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make this thing a little bit smaller. It's kind of really gigantic. So let me see if I can just bring up the Wacom. This disc here, I'm sure somebody's going to ask about it, and I'll just mention that this is just the radial thing here, the radial menu that Wacom has. And no, I don't want to delete it. I just want to resize it. Where is the resize? I think it might be under options. Yeah, here we go. And where is the size of it? Of course, I did this a while back, so I don't remember, but there is something that will make this a little bit smaller. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, here we go. And then I'll just make the size not bigger. I'm going to go the other way. Let's do that. Okay, that's actually a little bit better, so that way it's not just popping up on the whole screen. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and choose the Damien standard brush. And basically, the reason why I have this menu is because it just makes it easier to switch between brushes just off the pen. I don't even have to hit anything on the keyboard. I can very easily switch between some of the most popular brushes, and it's just something I've integrated into my workflow. I talk about it in previous episodes of this stream, so that's what it is. So now what I want to do is I actually want to cut a hole in this helmet for where the visor is going to go. But before that, since I hidden that visor that I already made, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new visor on here. And for that, I'm going to use ZModeler, and I'm going to use the extrude. So here, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and append. And I'm going to use my brush for that, which is this primitives brush that I have. And also you can use the one that comes with ZBrush. I'm just going to use just this one plane, and just, oh, it says multiple subdivision levels. That's right. But I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it like so, which I should have done anyway. So I'm just going to create a duplicate of it, and on that duplicate I'm just going to go ahead and go alt to the highest subdivision level. Let's hide that first one and delete everything that's lower. So basically I just have this as the highest subdivision level. I don't really care about this actual model. I'm just going to use it to draw on the visor on. So now I'm just basically creating two planes on here like so. Okay, and with this, that's actually kind of neat looking, kind of looks like eyes. Look at that. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead. Okay, so the person's Orion is asking about the shortcuts I use. Sure, I'll take you through them. So basically, the way I have ZBrush is I've customized ZBrush in a lot of different ways. The first thing I do is I have two docks, one on the left, one on the right, and I have the menus on here. And I do have the menu bar on top. I might at some point take that off just to gain that real estate space, because I could probably pop all these menus on the sides. And then besides that, I also have customized the interface, and all that's done through preferences and config. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube. Pablo, I think, has one of the better ones. Pablo Munoz Gomez, who also streams on ZBrush Live. So there are ways of customizing the menu. It's really easy to do. People always ask me if I want to give them my menu, and I usually tell them that it's pointless for them to get mine, because it changes all the time. I mean, since 2022 has come out, which is just a few days, I've already got 2 different menus that I've updated it to. So I continuously update my workflow. Now, the other thing that I had, which is this over here, if you have a Wacom tablet, this is just a capability of the Wacom tablet. So, if you press a button, and I have a 3D stylus here, which has 1, 2, 3 buttons. Basically, this third button is what the eraser used to be. So if you look at the other pen, there's an eraser on the top of it. So they've actually taken that button off, because nobody really flips this around and uses it as an eraser. I don't even know if anybody does that. I'd be curious to know if they do. But what they've done is they've instead made it a third button. So when I press that button, I just get this radial menu, and I can choose out of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 brushes, or 8 different things that I could map to these. Right, and I also, in addition to that, have custom menus. So I've got custom menus that pop up that I have set up that just basically have different functions, so I can easily get to them. So I don't have to fish around in the kind of the main menus to find things that I need. So it's just all about kind of expediting my workflow. I do have some hotkeys too, but usually I just basically just use these ways of kind of speeding things up. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's go back to what we were doing, which is going ahead and adding a plane here. So I just want to add a couple of planes like so. And let me go into the settings of this first. Oops. I don't know why this is not pasting it on. Let's do this one more time. Right, so I'm just going to basically create 2 planes. It doesn't matter anywhere, like this is fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these out. So I'm just going to go ahead and split these off. Split masked points. So this is basically sitting in the back, and then with ZModeler, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and in the edge function, I'm going to go to extrude. Let's choose taper sides. And I'm just going to this is a way to retopologize as well, but what I'm using this for is, do I have snap to surface on? Let's make sure that's on too. Taper sides, smart attraction, snap to surface. Let's do that as well. Okay. So now I'm just basically retopoing this, and usually it's good to kind of put perspective on. Another thing also is useful with this is you can turn dynamic with some thickness on as well, and that kind of gives it a little bit of thickness, so it makes it easier to see what's going on. So here I'm just going ahead and I've got, let me also do another thing here with move points. I want that to snap to surface as well. So, and lastly, I just want to, for polygons, I'm going to turn that off to do nothing. So where's do nothing? Do nothing. So basically I just have an edge action and I have a vertex action. So now as I move the vertices, they're snapping to the surface here. Did I turn transparency on? No. Okay, here we go. They're snapping to the surface, and I'm adding edges. So this is a really great way to retopologize as well as like do what I'm doing right now. The only reason why I'm doing this and I didn't just cut it out is because I want this to have a sub-D geometry, so I can subdivide it as many times as I need to, because it's a visor and it's going to get reflections. All right, so there is that. Let's see, any questions? Let's see, I already increased the model and the parameters. Okay. Okay, so we got a question here. Let me take a quick look at it. And I'm using Dynamesh. Gonna give me a required number of polygons. At the moment, I have 2 million polygons. Okay, So, okay, so I don't know specifically what kind of machine you have and what your machine specifications are. 2 million is not a lot of polygons for ZBrush. You know, you should be able to go up to about 15 million polys with no sweat. So I think one of the things you need to look into is how much memory you have. If you have more memory, you can have more models. And the other thing also is once you start running out of memory, if you're on a Windows machine, and I'm assuming you are, I don't know for a fact that you are. If you're on a Windows machine, then it will start using virtual memory, which means that it's going to go to your hard drive, which will make things a little bit slower. So, but yeah, that seems to me like that doesn't seem to me like it's a, you know, how much memory do you have in your machine? Let me ask you that first of all. Do you have 32 gigs? Do you have, you know, what's your memory loadout on your rig? And also, are you on Windows or are you on Mac? If this is something I can help you out with, I will. But if not, Pixologic has really, really good support. You can just open a support ticket with them, and they will help you troubleshoot it as well. Currently kind of stuck on how to start the shape. Okay. Well, I think that I think starting is kind of one of the biggest obstacles a lot of artists face. It's called, I don't know if there's an actual name for it. I just call it the blank page syndrome, which basically is you stare at a blank page and something has to appear in it. I actually have a really good, I should mention that. So I basically have a tutorial that I do. So if you guys like to learn like from a class type of thing, I've got on specifically the hard surface too. I've got this on Gnomon Workshop, which is a really good website that has some, if not the best, some of the best instructional videos. And I'm on it. I've got two, okay, let's just say okay to cookies. And I'm on it. I've got two videos. So if you want to find me, just go to the main menu here. Go to Browse by Instructor. IL, there I am. So IL is the name range. And I've got one on photogrammetry and one on mech design. And in the mech design one, I have a really big section about researching and doing research before you start something. And also I've got something about, you know, doing sketches. So I sketch in VR, I sketch in Oculus Medium when I'm doing mechs and whatnot. I use that all the time. So this is kind of a good way to get started. And also, if you want, you can always go to ZBrush Live. So if you go to ZBrush Live, which is here, let me make this a little bit smaller, and go to Presenters and find me there, which I'm not too far down. Here somewhere, there I am. So if you go to mine here, you can see that all of my streams that I've done so far are down here. I guess maybe they're not exactly up to date. But if you watch my streams, if you go to the first one or two, like here, right here, you know, we went from this kind of shape to this kind of shape in the stream. So you can see how I kind of block out my model and get started. And also did the same thing with the spaceship. You can watch that, and same thing with this robot. So I would say, you know, if you want to watch something for free, you can always watch my previous streams. They're all saved here on ZBrush Live. They're also on Pixologic's YouTube channel, so you can watch them there as well. Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of instructional stuff on here. And then whenever I start a new season, I usually start out blocking something out. So in this one, it's more character specific, but in previous ones, they are mostly hard surface. Okay, so is it possible to get help here? I don't know what you mean by getting help. I'll answer questions for you, but you know, and I'm also looking into creating online classes, by the way, and mentorships. So, I mean, there are ways of getting instruction, but this is just a broadcast. A lot of people are watching, so I can't focus on one person for a long time. Okay, so that's a great name for it. I don't know what you are referring to, Victor. If you can let me know. Not a problem. I use window. Okay, so use before Dynamesh worked well. My last model had yeah. So I don't understand. Maybe that one model that you have, maybe it has some issues. One of the things I would do with it is I would go to under geometry. There is mesh integrity. Always check the mesh, see if it's got any issues and fix them. I think that could be causing some problems. But other than that, I start a ticket with Pixologic because that should not happen. Like you said, 21 million polys should be fine. I don't even know. Like, let me see how many polys is this suit that I have. Okay. Yeah, this is about, it's not, I think, am I on the highest subdivision level on it? Let me see. No, I'm not. So if I go to the highest subdivision level on this guy, so yeah, it's about, it's about 4 million just for the suit. And I'll probably be bumping this up further as I go along. But let's jump back to where we were here, and we don't want to be on the suit. We want to be on the visor. Okay. So as you can see here, I'm slowly building up this visor. Just it's snapping to the surface, and it's kind of a really fun way to create this. And I'll be adding some edge loops later. Right now it looks pretty blocky, but that's fine. And that could be design choice as well, but I think I kind of like for this one to be smooth if I can get it to be that way. Right, so I use this exact same method to retopologize as well, but I also use it to peel off maybe sub-D parts. Okay, there's that. And okay, you're welcome. Can you phonetically tell me your name in English so I can refer you to by name? Because I can't, I don't read Russian, so I don't know what your name is. All right, so here I'm going to add an edge loop. So I'm just going to go to Insert, add an edge loop here. And let me turn polyframe on so I can see what's going on here. Okay, that's cool. Just kind of snap these guys together. Andre, okay, Andre, thank you. All right, so I'm getting pretty close to being done here. And as you can see here, this is kind of right now pretty polygonal. And I'm trying to keep the polygons as as nice and tight as I like. I'm going to get rid of one edge loop here, put another one there, and just continue to. Oops, I guess I need to go back to extrude. Continue to continue this process further. Let me pop this on. I don't know if I did this on camera before, but I think it's a good kind of thing to do, and I didn't really like the mask that I had before, so I kind of thought of doing another one. All right, so now I got to decide if I want to move this over to here as well. Like, I don't know if I want this part to be transparent, so I got to decide that in the next couple of seconds. Well, let's try it and see what it looks like, and if I don't like it, I can always delete those polygons. So I'm just gonna just go out this way. And this is a pretty powerful capability that ZBrush has. It's had it for a while. It's part of ZModeler. I think they added this in like maybe a whole year ago. And I find it to be pretty useful. All right, I think, so does that look better, or does it look better without? Let me insert an edge loop here too, and then I can just make that decision pretty quickly. I think I think I'm going to keep it. I think it creates an extra level of interest in that one area. Okay, so the last thing I need to negotiate is this over here kind of is creating a weird pinch. So let me see if I can find a way to make this work. All right, I think that's okay. And so now that I've got kind of geometry going all over this area, next thing I want to do is inset this whole thing. So I get a nice edge loop going around the whole model. So just border only. No, just don't do border only. I want to do the whole thing. But I want to inset the region. Okay, so why isn't it doing that? Inset, inset, single poly. Oh, all polygons. How about that? All right, and I'm just going to create an edge ring around this. Now, with the new inset, it basically will create a very evenly spaced area over here, but also it will introduce a bunch of triangles. So I'm just going to go to the old method of doing it for now. Let's go to legacy and just do that. And so we can just get a bunch of quads here, because that's kind of all we care about for, because I'm going to subdivide this in a few minutes. I think that's okay. Actually, let me do something else. What will happen if I zero mesh this at the same number of polys? Let's see if I get anything better. Actually, that's not too bad. I got a weird thing happening here, but overall, I think this will work. I've got a few triangles, but that doesn't matter. I like this a lot more, so I'm going to keep this topology, but I'm definitely going to inset it as well, just because I want that border ring. Okay, so now that I've got that, I think I'm pretty much done. So now, if I divide this, I'm going to get something like that. But I want the edges to stay put. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that ring that I have and mask it, because I don't want that to change. And then let's see what this will look like if I subdivide it. All right, I'm getting all these triangles, so that's not going to work. All right, so I guess I just want to mask this edge. Let's see if I can do that. Mask edge loop complete. Okay, and let's show everything else. So I've got that masked there, and let's see what dividing will do. Yeah, it's still gonna give me those triangles. All right, no worries. I will. I'll just divide them, and I will use move brush with AccuCurve. Get my kind of points back here, the pointy parts back, like so, and this one like so. I mean, I kind of like the rounded edges, but I also like this to kind of have sharper edges, specifically right here. I like that kind of sharper edge. And the visor is going to go into the helmet, so I don't, I can push this down further into the helmet a little bit, and I'll be fine. Okay, and another thing I can also do here, and which I'll do in a minute, is once I establish this border over here, right, I can go ahead and inset this whole thing one more time. So I'm going to group this all the same way, and I'm going to inset it one more time here. Oh, it's got multiple subdivision levels. So let me see, do I need that for a subdivision level? I don't. So I'm just going to delete that lower subdivision level. So this is what I've got. And also, I think I've got some creasing here. Do I? Nope, no creasing. Okay, and now I'm going to do one more inset here. Well, actually, instead of doing an inset, I'm going to do the other thing I talked about, which is basically doing that extrude, but I'm going to do it with the mesh border. So now I'm just going to go all the way out, and that basically gives me that edge loop again. So I'm going to go all the way out and into the helmet, like so. All right, and that is snapping in onto the object. I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to turn snap to surface off and just change it to free move and just grow that out. So now it's just basically going into the helmet. Let me turn transparency off to see if I've got this is working, and it looks like it is working just fine. All right, so we're done with the visor. Now we've got a separate visor. Now this helmet that I basically used as kind of a base for this, I'm going to keep it, as I'm going to peel off some other parts off of it. All right. All right, so now that I've got this, in the original helmet, in this one, I want to go ahead and remove the visor because we're going to be seeing inside the helmet. Now to do that, there are different ways of doing it. But what I'm going to do here, and again, this has multiple subdivision levels, so let me just go down to a subdivision level where I basically have the underpinnings, and I think this is a good place. I don't need anything lower than this. I'm going to delete everything that's lower than this. And what I want to do here is separate this part out. So I'm going to actually use this knife curve tool. Let's see if this will work. And I'm just going to do, let's just do this piece first. Oops, nope, that didn't do it. Okay. Oh, is this going to complain because it's got multiple subdivisions? Of course it is. Okay, so no worries. What I'll do is, I've got the high-res version here, so I can reproject that later. I don't care. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also delete the higher subdivision levels on this one. Okay, so this is all I've got left. Right, so I'm just basically going, and I don't know if now I am kind of curious as to, I don't remember, is the dark side that kind of gets cut off, or is it the lighter side? I don't remember. Let's see if this works. So here goes nothing. Of course, that's exactly what I didn't want. I wonder if there's another way. Oh no, it completely obliterates it. Okay, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. Luckily, this is a pretty fast process. Right. And again, I don't really care too much about being very precious here because I have the details I can project from the other one. So now I just hit Alt and click, and that basically gets rid of that part. What's nice is it gives me this inside part, which I don't really need, but it's all one polygroup, so I can just select that polygroup like so. Invert and delete hidden, so that's gone. Now I do have my my hole in the helmet. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and perspective on. I do. Geez, that's not good. So I need to mirror and weld this thing to get my symmetry back. Here we go. That's good enough. And what I want to do now is I'm going to zero mesh this at the same amount of polygons just to get those edge triangles to go away, and that actually does not look too bad. Okay, so now that I've got this kind of basic structure of the helmet, what I'm going to do here is see if there's another piece I can break off. Now this top piece could be its own separate piece, but I'm going to try and keep this together. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and add some thickness to this. So let's go to dynamic, turn smooth off, add some thickness to it, and I want the thickness to go in, not out. Okay, and that's way too thick. Let's go less thick. So now I've kind of got that basic part of the helmet. Maybe I should bring up the head underneath just to see what it looks like. So I'm going to switch my view here to V1 and go off of solo. There is the head, and I'm just kind of seeing how this inside part is going with the thickness. Can I go a little bit thicker? That's way too much. It looks like 0.006 will do it. Okay, so that's good right there. So I think I'm going to keep this as the thickness of the mesh. And now that I've got this going on, I'm going to go ahead and apply that. So now I do have that applied, and this is what this looks like. Let's bring up the visor. There's the visor. Looks like I need to push the visor back a little bit, but that's not a big deal. I can do that right now. And again, I just wanted to protrude this part. And I can probably push this visor back a little bit as well. I know there's some questions. I'll answer them in just 1 second. I'm kind of in the middle of a flow here. So just move that in a little bit like that. And that's going to be, okay, maybe not that much. There we go. Just about there. And this helps when I turn this off. Maybe push it out just a bit. Okay, I think this is good for the visor. And now that I've got the helmet the way I want it, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to project this detail onto it. So I'm just going to bring this up, hide everything else. Actually, instead of doing that, let's switch to V2, where I've got just these two visible. And with this helmet, I need to do a couple of things. One is I need to mask the inside part. Just go to select here real quick. And I want to mask this part as well. Oops. All right, so I'm going to mask this and invert the mask. All right, so inside part is masked, the outside part is not, I don't think. Let's make sure. No, I don't want to mask the whole thing. What's going on here? All right, so I just do this over. Mask this, flip it, and flip the mask. Okay, now it should be good. All right, so there's that. And what I want to do now is, actually before I even do that, I should I'm going to do one other thing here just to see what I can get. I'm going to keep the groups and ZBrush it one more time. Now these edges look crunchy, but like that ZBrush just cleaned that up. Look at how nice they look now. And this is much, much better. Do I have symmetry on? I do. Okay, so all of that is good. Now what I'm going to do is divide this a few times, but I don't want to divide it. I don't want to divide it with smooth on, so divide it once without smooth, and then divide it a couple more times with smooth. Okay, so now it looks pretty smooth and nice, and now I'm going to do that exact same thing I did before, which is selecting this, masking it, and inverting the mask. All right, so the outside part is not masked, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to project the details from what I had here. So some of this stuff on top or whatever looks good. I'm just going to project that onto this guy. All right, let's hide the mask. The only two things I've got visible are these two guys. I'm going to go to that, go to project, and project all. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, projecting mesh details, and if I turn this off, okay, there we go. I got some of my detail back, and the inside is masked, so nothing is affected there. I got a little bit of protrusion over here, but I can fix it. And yeah, so there we go. All right, so I don't need this guy anymore. I'm going to go ahead and add him to that folder. And I've got the inside part of the helmet. Let's kind of work a little bit on that inside part. And let me turn polyframe off for a second. Okay. So the nice thing here is I've got 4 subdivision levels. I can go down in subdivision level, and I can let me mask this outside part so I don't mess with it. Oops. And for the inside part, I'm going to go ahead and just very gently hit it with the smooth brush. All right. Yeah, a Legionnaire bucket, sure, yeah. There was a way to flip the that shadow. I don't know what you mean by flip that shadow. Angelus, I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean flip the shadow? Right, so there's this inside part that's kind of going into itself. It's going to take me a couple of minutes to clean that up. All I'm doing is just hitting it with the shift key. And this might be something that could be done from the inside as well. And I'm just using shift to kind of make this, maybe with H-polish as well, just kind of get it. I mean, we're not really going to see this part at all, but I just don't want it to intersect the other part of the helmet. So I'm just kind of smoothing it down. All right, that's good enough. And let's get everybody back here. So you can see here I've got a nice hole in the bottom too. All right, I'll just kind of smooth that out. Now, you know, I mean, if I was really doing this as a prop for a movie or something, I'd need to make sure that this would come off. Or, you know, this would fit over the head somehow, but maybe, you know, it attaches out or something like that, like this whole part comes out or whatever. I can figure that out later, but now I just am kind of smoothing out this inside part just a little bit around the edges so it's not so harsh. And let's go up in subdivision levels. As you can see by my hat, I just went to the Academy Museum here in Los Angeles, a new movie museum that opened up. And they had the suits from Space Odyssey 2001. And really inspirational to see these things in real life. Okay. Oh, the knife tool. Okay. Yeah. Can head pass through the hole. Yeah. So that, you know, that's a good question, right? So let's just go back to our first view here. This jumping between views is so nice. I don't need that big star that's over here. We can hide that. So let's see if it does. So let's turn transparency on. And let's go to the body. All right, so I'm just going to get that helmet. I think if I hide the visor, I'll see the head. Yep, there it is. Oh, it's definitely, yeah, well, it looks like, you know, the neck is fine. I mean, it's good after the fact, but no, it's not going to work. So I'm going to assume that there's some sort of mechanism that basically, you know, it kind of opens up in the bottom too. I'll, you know, again, if I was doing this for a movie or something like that, I would definitely have to make that work. So I would make the opening bigger, which I can do, or another option is to kind of make it so the helmet kind of also splits into from the sides as well. So, but these are all things that I always take into consideration, just because it sells the concept better. All right, so this kind of is looking okay. I don't really care about this inside part. All right, now the other thing also is I want to create a little notch in here, so I'm just going to go down in subdivision levels again, and go ahead and polygroup this one of these inside polygons here. So again, using ZModeler, I'm going to polygroup, polyloop, and polygroup this loop right here like that. That's good. And then I'm going to use QMesh polyloop to push that in. Oh, it's not going to do it because of the higher subdivision levels. I should have done this earlier, but that's okay. Because I can do this a different way too. Let's see. No, I'm going to do it this way. I'm just going to obliterate the higher subdivision levels. Let me duplicate it first. I'm going to obliterate the upper subdivision levels. I guess I could freeze them as well, and then just do this. This is what I want it to do. Just to create that kind of inset area, you know, that looks pretty cool when, yep, that looks perfect. Okay, so now that I've got this, I'll go ahead and reintroduce subdivision levels. So divide once without smooth, and then divide a couple more times with smooth. So I've got this. I lost all the detail on the outside, but you know, I think I've got enough of it. I'm not going to reproject. I'm just going to go with kind of the a little bit of this that I have already, and then add to it later. All right, so moving right along. The other thing also is that these ear cups, I need to smooth them out too. So I'm just going to go to that inside polygroup here. I've got double on so I can see both of them. And yet, you see how that there's all these intersecting things. These are things that cause problems, so it's always good to go in here and smooth these out. Probably better if I start from a lower subdivision level. And just go ahead and knock these out so they're not intersecting each other. Like so. Hit this a couple more times right here. And then these ear cups, I don't need them to be so kind of close to the other ones, so I'm just going to go ahead in here. And I'm just basically using the smooth brush to just bring them in a bit. I can just completely use a standard brush or whatever too, which would make this a little bit faster, but it's going pretty well. Okay, so now, oh, there's one of those intersections down here too. Let me fix that as well. Now I'm going to go back up to the higher subdivision levels and see if they carried through, and they did. Most of them did. This one looks like it's got a little bit of doohickey still. Go. All right, so that's that, and then let's bring everything else back. All right, so that kind of gave me a little bit of a, you know, it didn't make that inside part very good, but I think that's fine. That's good enough. All right, so I've got this now. Let's bring the rest of the folks back. Let's flip views here to this view, turn solo off. And I've got two of these helmets. I'm going to take this old one and just pop it into that folder for now. And go to the one I just made. I think the visibility on that is still on, so let me hide it. There we go. I think that looks okay. So now that that's the outside part of the helmet, I need to do the inside part of the helmet. So now one of the things is that this piece right here is intersecting in, which doesn't matter. I'm probably going to do something to not see it. All right, so the other thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go off from the person's body. So I'm just going to go off of the head here. Let's turn transparency on and ghost on. And what I'm going to do is mask kind of the inside part of that helmet. So I'm just going to mask her head. And again, the back's not really going to show, but you never know. I mean, if this was a concept and they were going to 3D print it, it would show. So let me solo this out. So yeah, so it's going to be some sort of a cowl or something that she's wearing. Yeah, let's just make it go all the way to her chin here. Oops, I don't want to go that far. By the way, if you guys have any questions about the new version of ZBrush, I've played around with it quite a bit, so I can answer questions about that too. Very cool stuff. Once again, like every time they come out with a new version, it just has so many cool things in it. All right, so let's say I want this to actually like have maybe something around her chin as well, like that. That's what I want it to do. Something like that. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm going to use my handy dandy Extract Pro or Extract Pro Plus to go ahead and generate another subtool that basically is just going to be what I masked. So I'm going to give this a couple of minutes to do its thing, and I think this would be a good time to do an autosave too. All right, so there's that. Am I using a mouse to do it? No, no. I know very few people that use mice with with ZBrush. Okay, so we see that there's this bottom part. Okay, good. Autosave automatically read my mind and it's doing its own thing. I'm going to let it continue and finish. No, I'm not using a mouse. I do have a mouse handy if I need it, but I'm actually using a Wacom tablet, and I've used Wacom tablets forever. I really like them. So it looks like there were some masked pieces down here. I don't know what's going on, so I'm just going to go ahead and go to Mask Lasso and just lasso this part out. Oops. Not Mask Lasso, but Select Lasso. Let me go back to there we go. And I guess I could just do this. Delete hidden. All right, so I've got this piece, and somehow I didn't mask, you know, there are these weird holes over here. Easy enough to fix with ZModeler. I'll just go ahead and do the close hole, close. It doesn't matter, so let's close this one. This one as well, and this one as well. I don't really care that it's janky topology right now. The other thing I also want to do is I don't really need an ear, so I'm going to get rid of that as well. Close those holes and just kind of smooth this out. And also, let me see what it looks like overall. That's good. Let's turn transparency off for a minute. That's good. And I'm just going to use my trim hole brush to go in here and create, is that going in or need to go out? And just create like a part that's way too much. What do I have for this? Let's go ahead and go to clip curve. I don't need to come out that much. Maybe something like this. Yeah, she's got some sort of headphones on. Let's see what that looks like on its own. That's fine. And yeah, so maybe she's got something like this that she's wearing underneath. I just want to make sure that even from an upper angle, I kind of have it all covering her neck all the way down. And again, I'm just basically thinking maybe the camera is going to go in here if it's a game or something, or if it's a movie. I just want to make sure there's enough stuff there for it. And now let's just zero mesh this thing. Same zero mesh. There it is. I don't need the. Oops. I don't need different polygroups. I'm going to zero mesh this one more time. And that's perfect, right? So now I've got that, and let's give that some thickness. Dynamic. Not smooth, but do add some thickness. And this time I need the thickness to go the other way. Maybe that much is good. And yeah, so there's that piece. Okay, so let's see what all that looks like without transparency. Yeah, that's coming along nicely. All right, so that's good. And then maybe we'll have some other kind of electronics or something in here. Maybe I'll put some kit bash parts. I don't know. We'll kind of determine that later. All right, so that looks good so far. So make sure that she has the highest level. She is. I might need to do some sculpting on her face just to kind of get her to look better. But let's go back to this piece right here, and I don't know what else I could add. Maybe go here, solo it out. I'm going to turn back face mask on. And I'm just going to mask pen here. Mask pen. Okay. And I'm just going to mask something like this. I know there's some questions. I'll get to them in a minute. Maybe something like this. I don't need to mask there. Oh, it did go through. Well, that's fine. No worries. And then let's extract that out. And I think, did it do two? I don't think it did, which is good. All right, so that's good enough right there. And let me go to solo here, and that is basically created this other piece on here, which I don't know where it is. Let's turn transparency on. Okay, so did it go in? Yeah, it's on the inside. No worries, I can always go to handy dandy gizmo here and make it a little bit bigger. There we go. And I'm going to zero mesh this down a bit just so I get less polygons, even less than that, even less than that. I just want a ring. I mean, there's different ways of doing this. I could have brought in a cylinder or whatnot, but this is good enough. And let's give this thing some thickness. Like so, maybe. That's good. Let's turn transparency off. Okay, so this will be kind of some other piece maybe inside the helmet that has some functionality to it. I'm just going to apply this for now. And all I care about is that outside one, not the inside one, because I can always add thickness to it again. So I don't know if this is going to make it or not, but I'm just trying out, like, maybe there's like a thing that maybe something that projects, you know, data, or like some cameras that project onto the inside of the visor, something like that. I don't know. Or lights, maybe they could be lights, but lights would probably be more on the outside, not the inside. Let me solo this thing out, get that inside part. Okay. Right, maybe to give this a little bit more visual interest, I will move the... Why is the inside part of this not coming out? Here we go. And again, I don't really care about the back part. I just care about the front part. So I'm just kind of trying to get this to move. Is it masked? It's not masked. What's going on? Oh, I know what's going on. Back face mask. All right, here we go. All right, let me take a cool quick look at the questions here. Go counter. These brushes go counter. Did this? I don't know what you mean by that. Hey, Creature-torium. That's a great name. That's an awesome name. Hey man, how's it going? I need to unhide the rest before flipping the mask. Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right. Okay, I was referring to the knife tool earlier. Yep, the knife tool as well. Am I using a mouse? No. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Seen any good shows lately? No, I'm not using reference pictures right now. I'm just kind of, just going off of my own visual vocabulary in my head. I do have a reference sheet for this guy. I never made a reference sheet for this. I just basically, started with the images, and I probably should have one, but no, I don't really have a reference sheet yet. So this thing looks good. What if I duplicate this thing? And turn transparent symmetry off on this guy, go to the center, and what if I have a bigger version of this outside the helmet? What would that look like? Kind of maybe lights or something. Yeah, that looks good. So what I love about ZBrush is you can just go in and start like doing what if scenarios. And so symmetry was not on. Let's go turn it back on. And let's bring the visor back. And let's see if I can get something cool to happen with this external piece. Seen any cool flicks lately? I saw Dune. I think I talked about it last time. I really liked it. I must say, I don't know if I want to see the Ghostbusters movie. It looks pretty fun. I don't know if this is working on the outside. All right, so that's an experiment gone awry. But what if I move this, I completely flip it around and move it down here? All right, so that looks like an interesting piece. I might explore this one a little bit later. I'm not going to deal with it right now. I'm going to go back to the one I was working on the inside. Hide that visor and continue doing that. Sean, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've watched enough sci-fi movies in my time to be able to do some really kick-ass stuff. I'm just waiting for that one director to knock on my door. There's a lot of really good talent out there making stuff. There's a lot of crap too. So, I don't know. Mesh a single poly here. So here I'm just kind of creating, some sort of interesting thing inside the helmet. Like so. I liked what they did in Dune. I liked the costumes and everything. I think they did a really good job there. Kudos to that team, whoever they were. I know some of the people. They've worked on things before, and would love to meet some of them. And so yeah, they did a good job. I think the design in Dune is really solid. I got the design book too, the art book. It's pretty good. And whoever did the costumes, they did a good job too. I think it's the same people that did the SpaceX costumes, the real astronaut costumes. So kudos to Villeneuve for picking a good group of people. Can't wait to see the next ones. All right, so that's looking good. Maybe this goes all the way down this way. All right, so there's that. All right, and going back to this over here, that's fine. All right, so this is looking pretty decent so far, and I think I'm pretty good with these parts. So now I'm going to go back to the outside of the helmet over here. Let's bring the visor back. Oh, look at this. So I wonder if it would make more sense. Let's see if that works. I wonder if it would make more sense to add some more shape to this visor. I think it's just pretty straight right now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the thickness of it. And it doesn't have smooth subdivision, so we're good. And I'm going to maybe divide it once. All right, and then I'm going to just bring up the Damon standard brush and start seeing if I can create something interesting to hide those pieces that were there, and create some sort of maybe interesting kind of future glass feature. Just want to make sure the eyes are going through. So here I'm just kind of trying to imagine if we can have, a shaped glass. Maybe is it somehow reinforced kind of looking interesting. And always I'm looking at the inside as well, just to make sure that the eyes are not obstructed. So I can lower this maybe a little bit further down this way. So in the past they used to have these be metal parts, but you know, maybe they have some fancy glass that can, let's see what that looks like without. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. All right, let's kind of work on that a little bit. Again, a lot of concept design is done in 2D, and you know, I mean, I guess you could put these on different layers and do what-if analysis, but this is pretty cool when I can do this. All right, so then basically I'm creating a bit of a, let's create a little border here for it. That. All right, so let's see what this would look like if it was transparent. Like, let's see. To do that, I'll just go down here in the render area to render it transparent. I'm going to go down here to display properties, and I'm going to go to BPR settings and say I want this to be BPR shaded. Yes. All right, so let's just do this real quick. Do a quick render. Mandress, I do. I have both. So, good question. Let me get to it here. So I do have an ArtStation, and also I should mention here. Whoops, I don't want to do that. Art. Okay, let me just go to ArtStation. Here, and if you just search for me, I'm on here. So if you just look, I think it's Kermaco. I think it's artstation.com/Kermaco. Let me just type that in. There we go. New. Just 1 second. I do have a link to it. It's just not where I thought it would be. Here we go. All right, so I do. Yeah, it's what the hell? Here we go. So yeah, it's artstation.com/Kermaco. So I do have an ArtStation. Now I'm updating this whole thing. I have Pro. I'm moving my website to it. I do have my own website. If you go to Kermaco.com, there it is. But I'm slowly migrating this over to ArtStation. So the first thing I did was the blog. So if you go to my blog here now, it's moved to ArtStation. So if you want to see my works, they are here. But also look at my blog, which has a lot of different entries. So and 2017 is the last time I updated my blog. But now that I'm on ArtStation with this blog, I will continue to add new things. Some of the things on my blog that could be useful to you are I've got like a ton of reference pictures. So here, for example, I went to the Kubrick show, the Stanley Kubrick show at Los Angeles County Museum. So you can see here I took pictures of a lot of the spaceships. Here's the spacesuit. There's some stuff from the museum as well, but there are a lot of if you just continue to scroll here, there's a lot of camera stuff that he had. Here's the hat from Full Metal Jacket. So there's a lot of stuff here. Like here's a shot of the spaceship, and you can kind of go in, look at it. So I've got a lot of stuff in my blog too. There's a lot of cool reference pictures you can look at there as well. So yeah, definitely check out my ArtStation. It's artstation.com/Kermaco. And so you can see all of the stuff I have there as far as art is concerned. So I don't know how I get, let's see, blogs, right? And so you can always look at my stuff there, and you can also look at you know, some of the artworks that I have here. And I also do have an Instagram. So right now, if you go to Kermaco.com, if you go to my current website, I've got all my social media up here. You can look at my portfolio as well here. Some of the stuff is not on ArtStation, but Instagram is where I keep all my newer stuff. So if you go to Instagram, and it's just Instagram/Kermaco. And I keep trying to get my follower number to go to 2,000, but whatever happens, it starts going up. So it was at 14, I think it was over 50, and then it starts going down again. So I don't know if ArtStation's or Instagram's kind of removing people that it added for some reason or whatever, because it wants me to pay to show my stuff. But I want to get this to 2,000. So if you guys can follow me, it would be great to get this to 2,000. But yeah, this is my ArtStation channel. Here's the robot that I did in my first season of the stream. So this is just some other renders of it that I had sitting around. This is the character that I was working on Halloween. I just finally figured out a render for it and popped it there. Here's another Halloween monster that I was working on. So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff on Instagram that you can check out. All right. Back to this. How are we doing on time? Okay, cool. We're good. All right, so this rendered out pretty nice. I kind of like this idea of what I did with adding these lines onto the glass. So this would be some sort of modern glass that has some sort of way to make it be more reinforced. But this transparency as it is here is not really as good as it can be. So I'm going to mess with it a little bit here, going under render and render BPR transparency, and let's go ahead and add normals factor. Let's up this to 0.5. Let's see what that gives us, and then I'll maybe mess around a little bit with the refraction as well. Okay, so that's kind of nice. That's a bit too much, I think. Let's go to 0.45. Let's see what that does. And luckily this render happens pretty fast, so it's not that bad. No, let's go to 0.25. I don't know what it was initially. I can't remember, but let's see what 0.25 gives us. And what basically I'm doing is that, so if I'm looking at something head on, it looks more transparent, but if I'm not looking at, if the normals are not facing me, then it's a little bit cloudier, and that looks a little bit more realistic. There's a big gap here on the bottom that I need to fix as well. All right, that looks good. That looks pretty good. So let's go to the move brush here, and let me move this stuff down. I think this is probably something I should do on the lowest subdivision level. Here we go. And I just want to move this so it's underneath. It's pressed into. The helmet. I think I need to do that a little bit here too. Here we go. There we go. Go back up in subdivision levels. I think I can add one more subdivision level to this and sculpt more details. Now what is going, oh, is this where, yeah, here we go. That's what we want right there. So I want the helmet, the visor to just kind of be inside of that little notch that we created, or at least near it. All right, I should not be doing all this at the highest subdivision level, so I'm going to jump back down and just smooth it, go up, smooth it a bit more, go up, and there we go. Okay. All right, free follower. I don't know if I should pay for followers. I never liked that idea of having to pay for followers. I'd rather just get them organically. But thank you for following me. I appreciate that. So hopefully I'll get to 2,000 soon. It'll be a nice thing to get before the end of the year. This adds an interesting silhouette to the visor too. Let's use H polish to press this down a bit. All right, do I 3D print this stuff? So I bought a 3D printer a while back, but it was such a big deal. Like, you know, I mean, it just seems to me like you would need to spend a lot of time. And I don't know if I don't think I bought a really good printer. I mean, I bought a decent one. But it just, you know, first of all, I don't really have a garage. So I had it in my office, and the fumes that it kind of put out were really kind of, I don't know. I kind of, you know, couldn't work with the fumes. So, so I traded it with a friend of mine for something else. And currently I don't have a 3D printer, and eventually maybe I'll get one. I hear a lot of great things about the form printer, but I also hear that there are some cheaper printers that are really good too. So, but I have 3D printed stuff. I'll show you here on my Instagram. I think not too far down here. For one of the pieces that I did, so this spinner that I did, I think in season 3, I want to say. But this thing right here, I 3D printed it, and there are some pictures of the printout somewhere. I don't know if I passed them. Did I pass them? No. They're down here somewhere. Where are you? Oh, here we go. I 3D printed one of my spheres of influence. That came out really nice. And yeah, I mean, the 3D printing that I did was pretty promising. And I would like to get back into it at some point, but right now I'd rather spend my time in ZBrush. I don't know where that is. I thought I had it. Let me do one more quick search. If I don't find it in the next 2 seconds, I will abort. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea of printing. I mean, I can print them. I just need to make sure that they're airtight, and then reduce the poly count to something the printer can handle, and then go into whatever printer app there is and reduce the polygon count and do all that stuff. I can't find it. So, but I did have pictures of it printing before. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing to say that I can't 3D print this stuff. In my head, all these things look real anyway, so you know, I don't need to actually hold them to know. But you know, I mean, at some point, maybe one day, I will make these as collectibles. I don't know if anybody would buy them, but Chaos Masons, I don't know how they pronounce it. They do collectibles. They do some really neat ones, and I think they sell out. So somebody must be interested in these things. All right, so I'm just basically creating more of this kind of infrastructure shape for that inside part. So I just want to see here. Yeah, I think this needs to go out a little bit further. So here I'm just lightly sculpting on that visor just to kind of get some sort of a thing happening with it. Yeah, it would totally be cool to create an action figure or something of this model. I think the first goal is to make it recognizable in a movie or something. And once it is, then people will want one. And also, if you are somebody who does do 3D printing and you want to work with me on these things, let me know. Because I will be more than happy to let somebody who knows how to do the 3D printing stuff really well do that part, so I can focus on my favorite part, which is basically sculpting and modeling. If I can spend all of my time in ZBrush, all my work hours in ZBrush, I will be a very happy camper. Right now, a lot of the projects that I get usually end up me having to spend them in other programs, but I try to bring them into ZBrush for however much of it as I can. just because it's kind of my favorite thing to do. All right, so this is looking pretty good. Now today I'll probably just work on the helmet, and we'll just kind of go off on the body a little bit in a little while. So let's see, how many subdivision levels do I have here? 4. That's good. So let me see if I can make the helmet a little bit more polished. And I'll probably work on some other parts on the body as well today. And then next time will be episode 7. I think this is going to be a 10-parter too, just because I did something completely different for Halloween. So I'll get that one back, and then maybe an extra one. All right. Cameron, good morning. All right, let's see. The blue thing on the right column was your 3D print. Oh, yeah. Do I know Farsi? I do not know Farsi. What do I think of the designs of the Halo characters? They're great. They're awesome. Yeah, I guess it depends on the version of Halo too. Like, I haven't seen what they've done with Halo Infinite. I'll probably get the art book when it comes out. And I think you can play the multiplayer now. So I'm so horrible in games. I mean, I'm good at some games, but a lot of times in games, like, I start looking at the model. I'm like, okay, looking at the design. I like Call of Duty a lot, so I picked up Infinite Warfare again. I didn't finish the campaign a while back, so I'm playing through that again, and I keep getting shot because I keep stopping and looking at things in the game. But yeah, I think the Halo characters are pretty good. The Spartan character, the design of it is really cool. I think they did a really good job in the 4th version, Halo 4. I think they did some really good stuff. Also in that one-off game, I think Fall of Reach, the designs of the Spartans there were really good as well. So yeah, some good people doing good stuff with Halo. I wouldn't mind doing concept design for a game company. That would be fun too. Now the cool thing is, if I do concept design for them, they won't just get a Photoshop file that some poor guy, sometimes that person is me, has to interpret into whatever figure out the other sides of it, or figure out if it's feasible or whatever. So, I mean, yeah, maybe they can whip out the concept faster in 2D, but and maybe they can whip out iterations too. But I think I've kind of solved the iterations problem. I can do iterations pretty fast. That's not a problem at all. The other thing that also, you lose time trying to interpret that into a 3D object. So if I am designing in 3D, if I am designing in ZBrush, I will save that time. I'll pick that time back up by actually having some 3D model available for the modelers to work off of. And if they get somebody like me, I mean, I'm pretty topology savvy too. You can notice that a lot of these things I have lower subdivisions of, and I do that for 2 reasons. One is because it makes ZBrush faster, and 2 is because if they need to have low-res cages for these things, I already have a kind of a starting point for them. All right, so since the head does not fit through, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make it so there is some sort of a section here that basically just comes off. So this back section into here, and I'll just go ahead and paint it real quick. a little bit of darker color. Nope. Guess I should fill the object with white first. Fill object. And this part right here, like so, is a separate piece. Right? So the helmet just kind of, you know, there's probably a button they push or whatever, and this front part comes off, and so that basically opens up this neck area. Right? So that's all good. This is just a visual cue. I don't really need to polypaint it, but it helps me kind of remember that that's what I'm doing. Switch color. Actually, I think it might be better to fill this part in. All right, let's bring everything back and see what that's looking like. That's good. And also this whole like thing that tears off could be part of this. And see, I was working on the vent and it's not even showing. So I wonder if it would be cooler if it does show. Let's see, let's get this part right here. Oh yeah. All right. All right. All right. You guys are quiet. It's a quiet group of folks today. All right, let me go back to Daemon Standard and go back to this helmet and start. I think I can add another subdivision or two here. This would be a really good panel to pull off here, so I'm just going to go ahead and mask it. Like so. And then let's go ahead and get that happening like that. By the way, another show that I've been watching that I like the designs on is Foundation. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's pretty good. And it looks like they've got a really nice budget for it. So they've done some really interesting designs. So let's see, we've got something like this here. So I'm just creating another piece that's going to be separate out of this. So I'm just creating an outline for it with masking. And I can just use the vanilla extract that comes with ZBrush, which is right here under the subtool menu. Extract. But I've got this plugin that I bought called Extract Pro. I think there's a free version of it, and then there's also a paid-for version. I actually bought the paid-for version just because I wanted to support the guy who made it. And it does a few steps in one for me, so I'll just go ahead and use that now. Which is right here, Extract Pro Plus. I think I used it earlier as well. It just basically gives me this piece. and zero meshes it for me and separates it out into another subtool. So it just basically does 3 steps automatically. All right. Okay, we got a good amount of time left. That's great. Okay, so now I've got these 2 pieces here. And what I want to do is, again, go in here, turn dynamic on, smooth down, give it some thickness, maybe a little bit more. Maybe not that much. Actually, that's good. All right, so that's good. Let's go ahead and accept that. There it is. And let's go ahead and keep the poly groups and zero mesh this at half. Let's just get lower and even keep going lower and lower until we get almost nothing. Yeah, like I think we can go even further down. All right, that's good enough. Now what's really nice about this is, I mean, the extrude actually kind of goes out, which makes the outside part bigger, but I can just hit it with the smooth brush here just to get smoother edges. And do I still have AccuCurve on? I do. And I could just pull these out. And here I can actually go in here and delete, some of these edge loops. Oh, I've got mask on. How about insert? Just get rid of these edge loops. Whoa, that wasn't good. How about this one? Nope, that's not good either. Because some of these, all right, let's just do one more zero mesh here. All right, kind of introduced a weird polygroup over here. I don't know why, but that's okay. Actually, that was good where I was before. I think this is good enough. Okay, so let's just get this to the shape we want. Just something like this, which is going to be on the outside. And let me kind of smooth these edges out a bit more. And maybe these could be some sort of light or some sort of sensor. All right, so that's that. I also want to do these ear things separately too, because that looks cooler. So I can either just pop in a couple of cylinders, or I think I'll just switch this helmet and do it with masking. Now again, I'm going to have trouble with this because it's got the inside part, but let's see what we get just by doing this. Right, and then let's just extract this out. Okay, tips on how to pose your model. Oh yeah, so tune in, not next time, but the time after. So I think my next 2 are going to be in December. I'm going to do 2 more streams in December, and it's basically doing the week on, week off Fridays. And one of the times I'm going to pose the character. I mean, Transpose Master is good. It's great. I'm going to be using that. But I also, posing in ZBrush is a little bit difficult for me. I don't know why. But I figured out some really cool things. Some pretty good techniques of doing it. So see, yeah, this one has the inside part and there's all sorts of other things I don't need. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this. Control-Shift-A. Delete hidden. And this is connected here, which is not a big deal to fix. But yeah, I mean, I use Mixamo and I use Maya to do my my posing. QMesh. I want to delete. Where are you? Delete. Add polyloop. All right, so that should have detached this inside part. Yep, we're good. Whoa. That deleted some things I didn't need to want to, or I didn't want to delete. All right, let's see if there's a, maybe this one. Nope, that goes up. All right, well, I'll just delete a single poly and just do it manually. So let me just kind of take care of this little bit of business here. There we go. All right, so I don't need this inside part. And hopefully this is what I need. Let's turn double on so we can see inside. That's all good. Delete hidden. All right, we're golden now. So yeah, I use Mixamo, I use Maya to pose the model. I get really good results out of that. And we're going to be doing that in a couple of episodes. So next week, probably I'll be doing a little bit more modeling, maybe some painting. But then after that, we'll figure out a nice pose for this character, a nice scenario to put them in. So here I'm just basically making this earpiece kind of separate from the rest and trying to figure out a way. There we go, delete island. To create this kind of separate earpiece that is going out, you know, that's connecting to the helmet, but it's its own kind of little device that maybe you can swap out, put something else in its place. You need more practice? Yeah, practice makes perfect. I think I've used ZBrush every day, a little bit, since I bought it. So it does help to practice. Right here, I'm just going to get rid of this part down here. And that's good enough. So here, I'm going to do that same trick I did earlier, where I'm going to use inset and border, not inset, but I think I'm going to do extrude instead. So let's not do anything here, do nothing. But for edge, I'm going to do extrude, mesh border, and let's just create a border around this, like so. I think there's a lot of stuff going on here that I don't need. I'm trying to get rid of some of this stuff over here. All right, let's see, any questions? Nope, nothing since the practice comment. All right, anybody else want, nobody's got questions about the new ZBrush? Did you guys upgrade? I'm curious, did you upgrade to 2022? A lot of programs I usually wait a little while for the bugs to be worked out, but ZBrush, I think when they ship something, it's pretty decent. Like I've been using this new version this whole time, and it's been pretty smooth. Of course, now I jinxed it. So, all right. So there's these, right? And let's do that edge again. Let's see if that works better now. Still a bit janky, but not bad. And I think at this point I can zero mesh it one more time with less polygons and get something better. That's good. I'm going to add some thickness to this thing so it sticks out. The only thing I don't like is this over here, but I can fix that very easily. Let me just solo it out. Oops. And what I want to do is just use stitch points. So stitch 2 points, this one and this. Oops. This point and this point, this point and this point. Let's go back to move. Let's move that down. Okay, so that's kind of fixed that issue. I've got another one of those guys over here. Stitch 2 points, this one and this one. Like that. And I got one more here. Okay. And it's amazing how effective the polygon modeling tools are in here, and I don't really see enough artists using it. I don't know why. I think a lot of people come into ZBrush with a completely different attitude of sculpting rather than modeling. So I think ZModeler is really, really powerful. I think as time goes on, hopefully more artists will discover its power. All right, let's go ahead and give this thing some thickness. There we go. That's a bit too much. Actually, I think that's fine. All right, let's apply that, and I'm going to go ahead and do something else here, which is polish by or deformation and polish groups. That's good. And let's polish crisp edges here. That is exactly what I wanted. There's that. Okay, so that's kind of nice. And add a subdivision level to this guy, and that's good. All right. Oop. I keep switching to my other pen. That does not have that button, so I'm like, why is the menu not coming up? Okay, let's do that. Now, it helps to color these a different color that are these separate pieces, so I'm going to do that right now. Let's go with the darker gray, not that dark. Fill object, and I'm going to do the same thing with this guy. Right, that worked okay. Let me do the same thing down here. Work on this transition. Okay, so yeah, you should upgrade. Yeah. Sean, you're asking me how long I've used ZBrush? For a long time. For a very, very long time. I think the first few years I bought it, I didn't really use it as much, but that was like ZBrush 2 point something or another. So it was really, it's come a long way. I mean, if anybody's followed the development of ZBrush, it's come a long way. And every single version, man, they really, really put amazing stuff in it. Like one of the highlights of my my day is like if there's a new version of ZBrush, I'm always like, what are they going to think up this time? And I'm never disappointed. What I also really appreciate is that their upgrades are free. Every other piece of software I have, you know, even if it's some stupid utility for Photoshop or something like that, they usually charge, you know, a little bit of money for an upgrade. I still have to pay for a ZBrush upgrade. And honestly, sometimes upgrades don't even add anything. Like, you know, you're paying, and B, you're not really getting much for it. So I think I say that every stream that I do, I talk about how it's the best investment I've ever made. Okay. All right, so there's that. Habchi, I guess your name is. You asked me how I got these details. Watch my previous streams. So if you want to know how I got them, you know, and they're pretty. It's a pretty neat process. So you can go to ZBrush, or you can just go. I don't know if these streams are on here yet. I think they are. Let me just go to the latest one. I don't think these are on ZBrush Live just yet. I guess there's one here. Yeah, so you can start by watching this one, or if you go to the YouTube channel as well, if you just do a search, go to the Pixologic channel and find my do a search for my name. So here's one that I did, but if you go to the first one, you can see it there. And also during the ZBrush Summit, I did a tips and tricks where I showed how to do it, and so you have a lot of different options to see how it's done. And I don't think they've separated that one out yet, but I'm sure they will soon. All right, so let's go back to H-Polish and work on this outside helmet. So helmet's coming along nicely here. So on a hero asset, like maybe the Spartans in Halo or something like that, they spend a lot of times on those helmets. And they make different ones too, so if you're going to have skins. So it took me, you know, a little bit of time to do this one, not that much. But I could probably whip out a helmet in half a day. And probably figure out a workflow that will make it in-game by the end of the day. So two in-game assets in one day. And helmets are kind of sophisticated, so I mean, I'm talking about helmets like this, not just, you know, a beanie or something like that. All right. Hapchi, I hope that answered that question for you. right, so another thing I also like to do, I didn't do it yet, but I will in a few minutes. Right now I'm just working on secondary forms on here, but soon I'll start going into some tertiary forms and start popping in. Okay, so this is kind of a touchy area over here. I'll bring in some alphas and do some detail work that way. All right. So there's some funky stuff going on here. I'm going to check it out. So I think there is a weird intersection happening here that I need to fix. Go to lower subdivision levels and see if I can isolate it. No, I think that's what's going on. All right, I need to inflate this out a bit. Like so. All right, here we go. That's much better. Jump back up, subdivision levels, there we go, and unsolo this. Yep, that looks a little bit better. I kind of don't like what's going on here as much, so I might just add a piece. I'll do that right now. Just mask this area. Let's bigger brush. Let's extract that out. And here I'm just basically, just using this as a quick and dirty way to just get another piece here. And there's that, and I'm going to zero mesh that down. A couple of notches. Whoa, check out that detail. Don't need that much at all. Keep going. All right, that's good. And what I'm going to do here is just try and see if I can hide that piece. Some sort of thing like that. That looks okay. So let's get it some thickness here. Maybe a little bit more. Not that much. Somewhere around there, that's good. And then no smooth subdivision levels. Just that. And let's apply that. Let's zero mesh it. And maybe this is some sort of a mouthpiece or something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, actually that doesn't look too bad. So, by the way, you guys see me do this stuff. It's not just ZBrush. I mean, ZBrush is just the tool. I also, a lot of it is just kind of my visual vocabulary and my kind of mind going, this is working, this isn't working. I'm evaluating this model throughout the process. And that's one of those things where you just get that with experience. Right, so So I'm making a lot of structural change to the helmet. Not something I should be doing at this point. But the good news is that with multiple subdivision levels, by having a sub-D model, multi-sub-D subdivision level model, I can make those changes pretty much on the fly. Here we go. Okay. Uh-oh. I just might have dividing it 33. I hit Control D, I think a number of times too much. So I don't know what happened there, but I can always Control Z it back. That was good. Good recovery there. But what I wanted to do is just go up in subdivision levels, not add more. All right, so here we go. And let me go back to my pen. So things look a little bit wobbly right now, but I can get that polished off literally with the H polish brush, like so. Any tips for a newbie? Well, I think the hardest part of being a newbie to ZBrush is that you get overwhelmed. And also you see people doing some really cool stuff, and I see people kind of struggling to do those cool things, and then they get really discouraged easily. And I'm going to let this autosave. They get discouraged easily, and what I recommend doing is, first thing is take the Z Classroom classes, the free classes that Pixologic offers. There's a lot of good stuff there that's free. So do that. And then once you feel comfortable with that, if you're doing good, then you're doing good. If not, if you're still struggling, you can take a class. And there's plenty of good ZBrush online classes if you want to do it online. And there are a lot of schools that teach it as well. I'll just let you know that, like I taught. I'm not currently teaching. I'm taking a break from teaching, but I taught at a place called Otis, and I did have a ZBrush class there, and I've got a lot of students that graduated and that are doing great stuff now. And it was a 15-week class, and within 15 weeks, I had people going from not knowing ZBrush at all, so students not knowing ZBrush at all, to having a flushed out character in a kind of a concept design render that could go into an art book for a game within that time frame. So that would be their final project. And so if you take a class, a 15-week class, you should be able to be pretty decent in ZBrush. And then after that, it's just practice. And every time you have a project, it teaches you new things, and over time, you'll be good at it. But remember, it's not just ZBrush, right? There's other things that factor in as well. All right, so I'm spending a lot of time on the helmet. I should move on to other parts of the body. So there are these kind of things over here as pockets, but I don't like them because I kind of like what's underneath there. So I'm going to move these and make them into something else. Like, what if I move these up here, like so? And I think these are what's their subdivision level? Oh, they're okay. So they're pretty. Oops. They're pretty low poly, so I should be able to do good stuff with them. So what if I rotate them this way and make these kind of some sort of side pouches over here? That looks good. Yeah, it looks better than the pockets I had. Any tips on creating a, you mean a base mesh? Is that what you mean by a base? Like a starting point? Well, you know, I think that's kind of a thing of its own. I mean, I personally love the modeling, so I created my own mesh. And you know, when I buy something, I usually modify it as well. But there's plenty of base meshes out there to buy, if you're talking about like humanoid stuff. And non-humanoid stuff, use some of the stuff that comes with ZBrush. Like if you go to if you go to here, I mean, they have a bunch of base meshes to start with. Like they've got a really good male and female base mesh to start with. They've got a dog, they've got a rhino, and then they've got a bunch of mannequins. Then there's Zizu, where there's basically every animal under, you know, there's plenty of animals here. So I think you know, the package itself comes with a lot of starting points that are ready to go. So I would start there. And if you want to make your own, I mean, that's kind of more of a, you really have to understand topology and polymodeling and stuff like that. So, but again, once you have a good one, you're set to go. And there's people sharing their stuff. I mean, I'm sure you can find free ones, but if you want to pay a few dollars, there's some great ones on ArtStation. I'm liking how this is shaping up. Over here, so there's that. It's a bit too sticking out. I'm trying to keep the silhouette of the person as much as possible and not add too many different things on top. I think this is working really well though. All right, so there's that. And let's see here. I kind of keep going back to the helmet because it's just so much fun to model helmets. And you can see here, it kind of looks wobbly. I mean, it's not very crisp. The lines aren't, but basically these are just placeholders. I will always go over these with better Scribe tools. They just added Scribe brush in the new version of ZBrush. That's pretty killer. This one right here. Scribe. And did I choose the right one? Scribe Chisel. This one's really good because it's got all these different chisels, and you can use like this one right here. And what's cool about it is, I mean, obviously I'm not going to use this kind of thing, although this could create some interesting possibilities, but I can drop that intensity down and get maybe a little bit further. What's nice about this is you can continue to modify the intensity. Now this kind of fans out. That's not what I want, so I could tweak this brush a little bit more to get some really nice scribe lines on it. And I can always use the what's the other brush? The chisel brushes are good too. Like this one is a really good one to add scribe lines. Make it smaller, like something like this. So I can get some really fine chisel, some really fine lines with that. But right now it's all kind of, you know, it's kind of coming together. So I start out with low detail, and then I hone it down to more better detail. So here, for example, I've got these kind of as placeholders, but at some point I don't want them. So I will delete this, these lines there. And I know that that's where I want a scribe line to go. So then I just go to that chisel brush right there. And I can drop a really nice kind of cleaner version of that. Like so. And just, you know, if I hit it a little bit with the smooth brush, maybe, yeah, this is pretty deep. Maybe not so intense. Let's go to about 44 is good, and maybe smaller size brush. There we go. And I could also go the other way too. That actually doesn't look too bad. I think it's got RGB, mRGB on, which I didn't really want. Let me just fill this and turn this off. Okay, here we go. And also another thing too is that this kind of is nice at the subdivision level, but maybe it would look better if it was at a lower subdivision level. So maybe not at 5, maybe at 3. Let's see what it looks like at 3. Yeah, I think that's better. Here we go. Now the other thing that they add, I think this was even before this version. I'll go ahead and do that here. Is the interpolate. So I guess here I don't have enough room to do 2 of them, so that's fine. I'm gonna undo that. Do a new one, like maybe like this. That's good. And then maybe with this one I'll just kind of refine it a bit more. This way. All right, so let's see what. Oh wow, we're over time already. All right, but I'm gonna continue. Kind of in the mood to work, and since you guys don't want me to work on this after I get off the stream, I kind of want to get as much done as I can because it's kind of a cool model. I'm really enjoying working on it. For a character like this, it takes me about a week to get one of these guys done, and that's with maybe having about 20 possibilities that I can hone down to 1. So if you watch the beginning of the stream, you'll see me coming up with different versions of this. I think the first one's kind of a throwaway stream too, because we didn't continue that one. All right. And you can see me move all over the place here. And then I've got these brushes that I bought from Mike Nash a while back. The unfortunately late Mike Nash, who really had some useful tools. Talk about somebody who's gone way before their time. I definitely miss his cool stuff that he showed, and cool stuff that he sold and shared. Definitely a great artist. Okay, so now I'm just basically dropping these down like so to add some primary, or maybe bigger ones. maybe even bigger. That looks cool. It kind of messes with my original shape though. I do want these to be bigger, but not obnoxiously bigger. All right, there's those. Oh, the wheel feature, this thing, I talked about it earlier. This is actually a Wacom thing. So in the Wacom, if you have a Wacom tablet, you can go in. I don't know why this. Here we go. I keep turning it on and off. You can make this radial menu appear, and I'm using a 3D mouse that has a third button, and when I press that button, this menu comes up, and I've just mapped it to different. I don't know if that menu is still up. Is it? Here it is. Yeah. So it's this. So under on-screen controls here, you can create radial menus. So there's a few of them over here, but you can always add your own. And I've added my own, and I've just basically put in, there's 8 different options, and I've put in my own things that I want to add to this menu. And I think 8 is the most you can have, and then you can have it either be a radial one, or you can have it be kind of a grid. I think with grid you get 3 by 3, you get 9 of them. So yeah, I mean it's kind of a nifty thing, and it's a fast way for me to switch between brushes. I like it a lot, and I think I saw a few people using this online, and I thought, okay, I think I'm going to try it out, and I did try it out, and it was well worth it. Right, back to the helmet here. And let's go to this piece, add some subdivision levels. First one not so smooth. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm going to work on this a little bit. I think I might go another maybe 20 minutes on this. What time is it? Not 20 minutes, but maybe another 8 minutes. And then I will continue to work on it in 2 weeks. So I'll be on again next Friday. Not next Friday, the Friday after next. So oh, that kind of looks neat. Nope. Does it look neater if it's pressed in, or if it's pressed out? All right, let's see what a render of this looks like. I mean, there's still some wobble to the model, but all that can be refined very, very easily and polished. Wow, that looks pretty good. Let's get it a little bit from an angle here. Yeah, that's working for me. All right, let's jump back down here to these guys. Now this thing right here is pretty low poly, so maybe I'll add one more edge loop over here. Maybe one more here. Yeah, this is a pretty simple shape, and I kind of like keeping things as simple as possible for the longest time. Just because it's easier to manipulate and make changes. All right. So, if you guys have any more questions, ask them now. It's a good time to kind of think of your final questions. How many polys is it overall? I mean, I've got a lot of things that I've kind of hidden here too. So there's stuff we are not seeing. Like there's all of these kind of pieces from a body that sometimes I'll use them, sometimes I won't. So there's all these pieces that I'm not using, but overall I think this should give me a rough amount. Right now, if I go over to these, let's see if it gives me total polys. I guess I could move this over. It looks like it's about 22 million is where I'm at. And again, a lot of that is still not stuff that is pertinent, stuff that's going to be deleted. So, I mean, it's not that obnoxious. I've got models that are in the 137 million count, mechs and whatnot. So 22 is nothing. All right, so there's that. How can you fill a hole created by a boolean difference? So what you're saying is you have, let me just go to this guy right here and append a cylinder like that. I'm still manipulating the star. Let's make the star bigger. Let's just make life easier. Let's unify that. Okay, and so I've got the cylinder, let's say, and what you're saying is you have a hole like this inside. Let's say you have a hole inside the star like that. So that's a minus. Let's put these guys in a folder. Actually, it doesn't matter. Boolean. Boolean, where are you? Okay, so you've got a hole like that in the star, let's say. And make Boolean mesh, and there is the Boolean mesh. So you've got a hole like this, and you want to close this hole. Is that what you mean? Kumar, is that what you want to do? You want to close the hole here like that? Let's say it's flat. And you want to close this off, let's say. Is that your question? So I'll just wait until you answer. There's a couple of ways of doing it. All right, I want to work on this neck piece a little bit. Kumar, Ashok Kumar, you still haven't responded. So was the question you had about filling the Boolean hole like what I did right here, where you have this hole like this created by a Boolean, you want to close it up? Is that what your question is? If you can clarify it, I can answer it. But you have to do it soon because we're going to end in a few minutes. All right, so hopefully you're still with us. Let me see. No, he is no longer with us, unfortunately. All right. Well, maybe you can tune in next time and ask me. I can tell you how to do it. All right, so let's do another render, and then I'm going to jump to the shoes a little bit. I'm going to do some work on the shoes, and then we'll do a render and call it a day. Okay, Castro, see you next Friday, or the Friday after next, okay? Not next Friday. But yeah. Oh, by the way, I should mention this before everybody goes away. One important last thing to note here is that before next Friday, next Tuesday, we're doing a group stream. So if you look at, if you go to ZBrush Live here and go to the calendar, this would be a good thing to end it with. So if you go to the calendar here, I think next Tuesday from, yeah, here it is. Next Tuesday from 12 to, it's actually from 12 to 2. We're going to have a multi-stream. So there's going to be, I think, 8 of us. Shane Olson, Steven Anderson, Franco, Andre, Paul, a bunch of us are going to be on. And we're going to do a kind of a sculpt bash or something like that, where we're all going to be working on our own thing and just kind of chatting and talking about things that we do. So if you don't want to wait a couple of Fridays to see me again, I'll be on that group Sculpt. And again, that's next Tuesday from noon to 2 Pacific Standard Time. All right, I think we're kind of at a good point to stop here. We did a bunch of work on the helmet today. And I think at this point, I'm just going to do a quick render and then call it a night. So again, if you have last minute questions, let us know now. And then other than that, we will, I think boolean is on. I think we will see you in a couple of weeks. All right, so let's let this finish the render and we'll call it night. Okay, and there it is. It's looking pretty decent. Okay, so thanks again for those of you that stayed the whole time, and thanks for joining me. For those of you that are watching this after the fact, hopefully you are getting what you can out of it. And if you want to see it live, again, it's Friday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or Los Angeles time. And with that, I bid you all a good day, good night, good afternoon, and happy ZBrushing.